Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. It's been a while since we've done any form of news roundup, and that's because frankly there's been no news. Blizzard have said absolutely nothing over the past couple of weeks or so. Ever since those Brigitte nerfs went onto the PTR, they have said diddly squat. But today I want to cover some bits and pieces to do with announcements, some big news in the Overwatch scene. But I have to start off with the DELETEBRIG movement, as something ridiculous has happened in Pro Overwatch. And I honestly can't believe that this has actually got to this level. It's crazy, things have gone too far. So for those who don't know, most of you will, so I'll keep this brief. The DELETEBRIG movement is a movement that was formed by people like Cavalry. I know Mendo was somewhat of a part of that to an extent, but it's a movement within Overwatch to effectively delete Brig, or to at least show their displeasure with Brigitte, both in terms of how strong she is and how unfun she is to play against. I don't really want to have a discussion about the movement itself, not calling the people crybabies because they don't like Brigitte or anything like that. Players have been naming their accounts DELETEBRIG in an attempt to sort of bring attention to this movement, and that's all well and good, up until this happened in the Chinese scene. This was a game that I got to cast at the weekend in Chinese Contenders with a game between Flag Gaming and Restart. And check out the name of one of the players for Team Restart. Yep, you read that right, there is a pro player in the actual professional scene in Contenders called DELETEBRIG. I don't know how this has been allowed by Blizzard at all. It would have had to have gone through Blizzard to an extent to check out the name and to make sure that it wasn't offensive in any way. Apparently the player is called Raphael. Last season he played in the Pacific region under Talon, I believe it was, but has come into play for Restart under this account, and it's actually ridiculous that it's got this far. The best part was, he was actually really good. Restart as a team, Free Field, for those that remember Shanghai Dragons, used to play on this team and they have lost every single game so far, but they managed to take a map against Flag Gaming, who are looking like firm favourites for their group, or at least one of the top contenders in Group B, right? So this was the underdogs going up against Flag Gaming and actually doing a really good job, as you've seen on screen. This Nirvana game was nuts to cast, so it was really funny to see this play come in and that team actually doing pretty well. But I just can't believe that this has been allowed to happen. This is probably the most shocking thing that's come on through, but having a pro player calling themselves DELETEBRIG in an attempt to voice their dissatisfaction at Blizzard for having this hero be so powerful, I think is a really bold move, and I can't wait to see if it pays off or not. Not only that, you have the username XQC on a budget coming out of South American Contenders, so we need to sort of compile a list of the best names that are coming out of Contenders at this point, because DELETEBRIG and XQC on a budget are certainly up there to begin with. The whole thing is hilarious, this name is great, it's shocking in itself, and I just can't believe that this has happened, but there's some serious connotations around it. But I feel that Blizzard need to do their best to sort of quell what's going on, really. They haven't said an awful lot, have put some nerfs onto the PTR show, which should be a big nerf to Brigitte, but in terms of game balance, it will be interesting to see how they want to counter and try and fix, in inverted commas, Goat's comp and how prominent it is at the moment. But I'm honestly surprised that they haven't said anything or addressed the concerns coming out of the community over a huge amount of topics. BlizzCon was a month ago and players are really upset and annoyed at the game, and to an extent rightly so. But I think in terms of game balance, we're in a really good spot right now. Brigitte is getting more nerfs, so hopefully those voices crying out to DELETEBRIG are somewhat silenced with some of the changes coming in. As we move on, we also have the Vancouver Titans announcement, one of the latter teams to announce their branding, but I wanted to highlight this because I really like the branding on Vancouver actually, and also their lineup is pretty strong. To go over players, their tanks are Bumper and Janu, DPS is Haxel, Stitch, Hureg, and Xiaominsu, supports are Slime, Twilight and Repel. For the most part, it's the Runaways lineup from Chinese Contenders, with a couple of extra players such as Hureg, that obviously was on the London Spitfire. But it is going to be really cool to see Haxel and Stitch in this lineup, and also a big shout out to Harsha that's going to be part of this team as a play coordinator. Really glad to see that he's moving up and up. But certainly this could be one of the sort of higher teams, full Korean roster, so you would expect it to do pretty well. Some of these lineups that are coming out into Overwatch League Season 2 are going to be really good, so I can't wait to see what happens. I was going to say the only team that was still left to be revealed was Washington, but they actually came out with their branding last night too. They are to be known as the Washington Justice, and you can't get any more American than this. I'm going to put all of the logos on screen for you to have a look at now, and I would love you in the comments to tell me your favourite out of all of them now, and also this like colour diagram shown for all of the team's colour schemes. Which is your favourite, and why is it the London Spitfire? I'm just kidding, let me know what yours is in the comments below. Next up is a live stream that Space did talking about how to become a better player at Overwatch. Notice how he titled it Become a Better Player, not how to climb or anything like that, because he knows what's important here. I'm not going to play a clip and I'm not going to just take what he said at face length. I just want to take this image and sort of show you. I will link the full stream, or at least part, in the description below. I would recommend watching it. But you have some really important aspects in there. But it is interesting to see how he's prioritized it, right? The first 3 things being all about how to play the game. You have stuff like setting all of the settings to low, finding the right people to play with, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a really good way to work out and compartmentalize what you want to do within Ranked, and how you personally should improve at Overwatch. So go and watch that stream, it's definitely worth watching, lots of good stuff in there. But speaking of Valiant players, Siltfred, who was on the LA Valiant and then onto the Chengdu Hunters, in a very temporary sense, has quit Overwatch for good. Competitive at least. It's a long letter about how he doesn't find the game fun anymore, and how he sort of wants to go to do college and do a business degree and come back to esports in that sense, but he's done playing Overwatch competitively, or any game competitively, I would believe. It sucks really to see any player quit, but it's understandable sort of at this pace. You have a lot of the pro teams working really hard and putting a very strict schedule together to make sure that these players are improving and performing the best that they can. Especially considering that Siltfred played for a full, pretty much Chinese roster as a Western player. The Eastern regime, I imagine, would be pretty tough on anyone, so sucks to see any player quit, but I really liked watching Siltfred, and I think he's going to be the first of many players that really burn out with Overwatch in the West at least, that can't keep up. But a very big decision to quit before the season started, and especially considering he just signed to a team as well with Chengdu, that he's decided to quit now. But glad that that's all sorted and he seems to be on the right path. So we are about to wrap up, but I did want to start December by shouting out HyperX. In Space's list, he did add that having the right equipment was important, and I would concur. And I do think the HyperX have the right stuff when it comes to the mice and keyboards, the headsets. All looks and feels really good, but it's also very good for actual professional play. Like some of the pros do use their stuff. Christmas is just around the corner, so if you want to get yourself some presents, or get it for other people, then this is your stop. You can find all of this stuff in the description. A big shout out again to those guys. We've been really thankful to work with them over the past year and a half or so. As I said, there's a lot of new stuff in there, some of it more important than others. The DELETEBRIG movement is getting out of hand at this point, but it's still a pretty funny story that I wanted to highlight. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Take care. We'll see you next time.